Hello, my beautiful human beings. Welcome back. Today I want to express this in a way you may have not have heard this before. Maybe it will help something click in you. God is a memory. Source, the universe, higher power, higher consciousness is a memory. So let's get into this. What's a memory? A memory is something only you can remember. If somebody wasn't there, no matter how much detail you explain something to somebody, they're not going to get it. They're not going to fully get it. Especially if it was like a dream or something. You're remembering a dream from last night and you're trying to describe it, and you're trying and somebody's like, oh, okay, yeah. That's what remembering God is like. It's something only you have access to in yourself. You can't fully explain it to anyone, and anyone can't fully explain it to you. We all have this memory within us, and there are things that trigger it, things that help us get closer. Things that people say that feel true, that feel right, that kind of on some deep level make sense. These things are activating your remembrance of God. But ultimately, none of these things can fully help you remember God, source, the universe, whatever you want to call it. I have an example to help demonstrate this. I used to have a jewelry box when I was a kid. I gave it to my sister. I forgot about it. I haven't thought about it in like 15 years. I gave it to her when I was a kid because I got a different jewelry box. I haven't thought about it in a long time. She pulled out the jewelry box yesterday. She lives with me, and I was like, is that my jewelry box? And she's like, yeah. I literally didn't even remember that it existed until yesterday. But seeing it made me remember, oh yeah, I had a jewelry box as a kid. But for the last, 15 years of my life, however long it's been, I would have never thought about that jewelry box. I would have never remembered that it existed until I saw it for myself, until it triggered that memory of it being there in me. So remembering God is a lot like this. It's something that this remembrance needs to be activated in you, and other people talking about it, saying like, hey, remember when we did this? Remember when this happened on this day? You can be like, yeah, maybe, kind of. But until you fully remember it yourself, you're not going to get it. You're not going to fully know exactly what they're talking about. You can be like, yeah, that sounds true. That sounds like I was there. That sounds like me. But until you remember it, you don't fully get it. But then you remember it. You're like, oh yeah, I remember being there. Once you access that memory, you recognize it as true. And God is the same. God is a remembrance of your true nature. God is a remembrance of your original source. God is a remembrance of who you really are, the true nature of reality. And spiritual lecturers, spiritual books, people who talk about this stuff can trigger these kinds of feelings of, that sounds right, that feels right, that makes sense. But until you have that experience yourself, until you have that remembrance, until you access that memory within you, because this memory is within all of us. It is our core. It is the source of us. Until you access that memory yourself, you're going to be kind of not buying into it, which is normal. But just know that those things that feel right, those things that kind of make sense, even though it's not fully clicking, they are leading you to that remembrance. They are helping guide you. But ultimately, that memory is something only you can experience, which is why those of us who have found God, those of us who are on this spiritual path, whatever you want to call it, awakening, we can explain and talk about it and whatever all day long. And people can think we're crazy, or people can say that's weird. Whatever. People aren't going to get it until they go down that path of remembrance. Just like a memory, just like trying to explain a dream to somebody. It's something ultimately only you can discover. And this memory of God is something that is yours and your path alone. It's yours to discover alone. So when you pick up on things that feel good or sound right or sound true or just ring true somewhere deep in your soul, that's your path. That's leading you to this remembrance. So follow it. Your path doesn't have to look like anyone else's. If a spiritual teacher says something and another one says another, and you feel something in a meditation and you just pick up little pieces as you go along, you are forging your own path. You are coming to this point of remembrance for yourself that no one else can do for you. And so don't get stuck following one spiritual teacher's advice. Don't get stuck reading one book and trying to force it for your life. Follow what feels right, but ultimately your remembrance is up to you. Meditation, prayer, inner work, inner connection, presence, all of these things are leading you there. They're guiding you there. And this is why we can't blindly follow a religion. This is why we can't blindly follow a guru or a spiritual lecturer, especially if you're following them from afar and you don't know them personally. Our logical mind can get in the way of the real truth. So remember this. You're not crazy if you're trying to explain this remembrance to somebody who hasn't remembered themselves. It's just like trying to explain, hey, remember when we went out to lunch that one time and we talked about this? And the other person's like, no, I don't remember that at all. But then it clicks for them one day. And they're like, oh yeah, that's awakening. All that matters is your memory of it, and we all have this core memory in us. It is at our very core. It is who we are. And so keep walking your path, keep living your truth, keep knowing that your soul is calling you. It's calling all these things in. Keep following your own path. But your memory is yours alone. Don't fall into the trap of following somebody's set path for it. Don't fall into the trap of thinking, oh, I've read this spiritual lecture's books, and so I must have got it from them. Only you can remember. And that is such a powerful and beautiful thing. And you're being led. And you can always ask for help from the universe. You can always ask for guidance. You can always ask for support. And ultimately, follow what feels right at your core. Follow what feels true. It doesn't matter what society thinks, because society has largely forgotten. So many people on this planet have completely lost touch with the spiritual nature of reality, with their core memory. And that's okay. It doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. Find your memory and you can help activate it in others. Okay, so this is what I mean when I say God is a memory. I love you guys so much. We are all one. We are all infinite. I'm so grateful for this experience, this magical experience of life with you guys. And I hope that your memory of the truth of reality gets triggered in you soon when you're ready, at the perfect, most divine time. Another thing I want to say is, just like a memory, we're in these bodies, just like a memory gets triggered and you're like, oh yeah, I do remember that dream, or I do remember having lunch with you that one time. As humans, you can have that memory of God triggered, but then forget again and have to come back to it. But at your core, you're like, oh yeah, I remembered that. And so it gets easier to come back to it. So it's okay if you go back into being a human, go back into your ego. That's part of the game we play. Love yourself. Don't put pressure on yourself. Trust yourself. Follow your own path. And you will remember you are being guided. I love you.